I am here with Mrs. Bowman to talk about some of her art classes. So let's go ahead and start with fundamental art. What should the kid know about the class?
Okay, well, this is a class that you have to have. You have to have a fine art. You
Okay.
don't necessarily have to have art,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the visual art. You could also take band or choir. Um, I I like this class because in this class, compared to the advanced classes, you get to do a lot of everything.
Yeah.
You draw, you paint, you use markers, you do a little bit with clay. If we get a chance at the end of the year, we do other types of sculpture. So you learn about everything. It talks about, in the description, finishing and forming, and emphasis is placed on problem solving, elements and principles. We do all that. And I just make sure we get all those state requirements done, but I try to roll them all into one and make them interesting. Um, like I said, if you choose to take the visual art path, this class, you would have to get a C, not a C minus, but a C for
To move on
both,
to the others.
yeah, both semesters in order to move on. Um, I will tell you, fundamentals of art is the hardest art class there is, and you got to do it. Just because it's not a non-core class doesn't mean that you can just slough it off. There is homework, there is writing, there are tests, but if you just do it, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, let's just say he really liked fundamentals of art. I know I noticed sometimes characters up in the
Well, the
comments.
caricatures are actually fundamentals of art.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Drawing and painting is advanced. I I've been trying to enter art shows the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and in the art shows, I'll just be honest, we usually take the advanced students' artwork.
Yeah.
We do more difficult things, but they're more interesting, they're more fun, and they're usually more like what the kids would choose to do on their own.
Right.
Fundamentals, again, that's what we have to get done because of the state requirements. Um, Drawing and painting, it's a little confusing because it does say that it's 1 year for one credit, but you could take one semester and then take health. It doesn't affect anything because drawing and painting changes every single year. Okay. I have not taught the same thing for that class ever since I've been here. We've repeated things year after year if the kids really enjoyed them, but when I enter shows, I can't have the same thing.
Yeah.
Because then they wouldn't even look at it. They'd be like, "Oh, that's St. John," you know.
And it doesn't even say this on this one, but you can, all these upper level classes, you can run.
Yes. Oh, that's very good to mention. Yeah, because I actually had somebody take fundamentals as a freshman and drawing and painting sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Okay.
And but drawing and painting, yeah, we've painted with gel, we've painted with cardboard, no brushes. We used palette knife paintings. We've used watercolor. This year I bought some velour. We're going to try to do some drawings on velour. I think we're going to paint on shoes this year. So just different things. Sculpture class, I've actually been saving. My husband thinks I'm a hoarder. It's okay. But I've been saving things, and I am going to just hand a pile of junk to a kid, and I'm going to be like, you have to make an animal, or you have to make this, you have to make a tractor, whatever. I don't know what I'm going to have them make out of it yet, but they're going to have one type of object and a whole bunch of them, and they're going to have to make something. You know, um, the at the art shows, the sculptures that we've had in the past that made out of styrofoam, we get tons of recognition for because it takes a long time and it's a lot of work, and everybody expects them to be heavier, but they're not. Um, Sculpture, drawing and painting, and ceramics, those projects take forever. You might only do 5, 6 projects the whole semester, and that's the only grades you get. It's kind of hard when it comes around to grade time because I've got to give participation. So, like in sculpture, for instance, I would say progress on styrofoam, finishing styrofoam, and those total points that you get throughout is the total points of the project.
Yeah.
And when I grade, I usually, basically it's 20 points a day. There's 5 days in a week. So say we have an assignment that takes a week, it's 100 points. And if it would only take 3 days, it would be 60 points. Um, ceramics is the same way. I think they do maybe 6 projects the whole semester. Um, don't be, like Mrs. Rowland said earlier, don't be confused. You could take ceramics over and over. It just means you have to move things around in your schedule. This year, it's second hour, and I don't even remember.
I'm
But,
sure your expectations go up if a kid retakes.
oh
Expect
yeah,
to see progress.
oh yes, I do. Like, even if we do in sculpture or ceramics, do the same project again, and that another kid is in there, I call them twos or threes or fours. I make it a lot harder. Like if it has 3 drawers whenever they do ceramics the first time, it would have 6. You know, I just make it harder. If we do projects on the wheel and there's normally 3 projects due, I usually double it. So, and that's just the way it is. In ceramics, one thing that the kids had trouble understanding when I first came here was they didn't know why glaze points weren't worth more. Well, you glaze it once and it's fired and that's it, but you build it for 6 weeks, you know. So making the project is worth a lot more points. If you don't do that project, you miss 100 points, and you also miss the glaze points because you don't have anything to glaze. So you've got to think about that. If you don't complete something, that's when you run into trouble. In fundamentals, that's also where people run into trouble. If they don't do it, they don't have a chance to earn the points.
Yeah.
You know, all you got to do is do it.
Yes.
I promise I will give you something, even if it's half finished and you think it's crappy. I probably don't think it's nearly as crappy as you do. But just do it. Whenever kids don't do their vocab or they don't do their sketchbooks, that's when they flunk.
Yeah.
You just have to do your homework.
And what about independent study? What does that kid look like?
Okay, that independent study kid is a kid that's really interested in being in here and being in the art environment. Um, I have kids that are totally artists and that's all they want to do, and I have some people that might not be as talented, but they just like the environment of the art room. The kicker behind that is you have to have a C when you're in fundamentals, and you have to have had an entire year of advanced art classes. So if you were a sophomore and you take fundamentals of art and you take ceramics first semester and sculpture second semester your junior year, you're technically eligible to take independent study design your senior year because you have had 1 full year of advanced classes.
And what kind of things?
Well, last year it was very whimsical. Avina Patel created this 4 foot by 4 foot by 5 foot painting, and it had like a swirl background, grass, and then we took wires and wrapped them with newspaper, and then she made origami flowers that stuck out from it. It was three dimensional. It was in 573 magazine. Um,
Wow.
it was one of the things that earned her a scholarship. Um, sometimes I'll let them do 1 or 2 things from Pinterest, but honestly, those are a little bit easy. Um, what happens, how those projects come about is the student picks the projects and then I set the parameters. Because sometimes they'll give it to me and I don't think they're difficult enough.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nope, it has to be bigger and it has to have 10 colors instead of your 2 colors.
And by that time, you probably already know how skilled they are.
Well, Mallory Hook a couple of years ago, she was very talented on the wheel. I started having her create donuts, which are things that you make on the wheel. And then whenever you do that, it's like you make a bowl and then you enclose it so that there's air inside. She got so good at that, then I said, well, now you have to create donuts. So you make 2 bowls on the wheel and then you make those bowls enclose and touch each other. And when she got good at that, then I said, now you have to make a sculpture out of that. So I just keep pushing,
Yeah.
but it makes them cooler and cooler.
And if you like art, you're going to do a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have Kevin Douglas this year, who is a swimmer.
Yes.
His life is swimming, you know. Um, but he just likes the environment in here, and I don't think he would mind me telling you he's not the greatest artist in the world. I mean, he's a B student, but he's a B student because he tries, and he has improved. I mean, he'll have it. He usually ends up with a B plus or an A minus, something like that. He floats, um, but he tries, and he has gotten so much better. He actually won stuff at art shows this year.
And they usually like will sit in here finals or your sculpture.
Yeah, independent study basically is an hour that works best into that senior schedule, and they work on my 3D side of the classroom, so they are independent. Like I am not holding their hand. I might have fundamentals that hour, and they might ask me questions here and there, but they have to come to me on the classroom side and get help, and then they go back and they work independently.
Okay. Anything else you think watching this needs to know?
We are kind of amazing.
Oh, you are.
We've been like just starting to enter art shows, and we're so good.
And you got Raku Day.
Yeah, Raku Day is really fun. It's a day that we go outside and we barbecue, and there are no schools around here that do Raku. So it's really a specialty thing that we do. Raku is a Japanese firing process, and that's the only way you can get reflective metal glazes. And it's really fun. It's outside. It's kind of like a day off that you barbecue and fire pots and you just hang out.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but we've really improved, and everybody that goes to college for art of some kind, even if it's their minor, they're so prepared. They could like they go in and those first two, maybe even three classes that they take, they're like, "Gosh, you taught us everything," and I am amazing.
You are. All right. Well, I think that pretty much brings it down. You are my